All of us know what it is like to face obstacles in life. Obstacles that try to hold us back. Some in the form of broken relationships, depression, or the loss of a loved one. While I have dealt with each of these, I have had one constant enemy since the day I was born: my body. At 4 months old, I was hospitalized for failure to thrive. While the doctors were unsure exactly what was wrong with me, they eventually diagnosed me with Crohn's disease at 3 years old, believing that I was born with this illness. I was told that I was the youngest person in the United States at the time to have ever had this disease. Growing up with a chronic illness made me feel isolated, and in some ways, strange. I have memories of going to sleepovers and having to remember to take my medications or to crush my pills, times where I would be in the bathroom for what seemed like hours because I would have an episode. Or having to sit out of playtimes because of pain, going to the doctors for checkups regularly, the routine colonoscopies. Eventually, I began to get better, and by 10 years old, they pronounced me with a clean bill of health. According to my doctor, it was a miracle. It was a time of joy, and I know relief for my parents. And just like that, life went on. But the interruptions weren't over. I began to experience pain again, which I shrugged off all throughout the end of my 8th grade year. But by freshman year, I could no longer ignore it. When I went in for a colonoscopy and endoscopy, they found a stricture, or a blockage, in my duodenum that was about 90% closed. My Crohn's had returned. This was really just the beginning. My pain increased, I began to throw up daily, then multiple times a day. I lost weight. I soon developed a skin infection around both of my ears, all throughout my scalp and face. I'd have to bandage my whole head just to keep it sterile. This infection lasted about a year. I felt embarrassed of my body, that I couldn't function. I ended up missing about 3 months of school sophomore year, and eventually made the decision to go through the homeschooling program at my school. My last 2 years of high school, I literally lived in and out of the hospital. I'd have stays lasting 2 weeks to 2 months. It was at this time that I was diagnosed with another illness. I had more tubes shoved in me than you can imagine. There were periods I would go for multiple months without eating anything through my mouth. And at one point, I went home on over 20 different medications. I had multiple blood clots, PICC lines, daily injections, you name it. And yes, those things were all really difficult. But what I struggled with the most were the interruptions it had caused on my life. When I was first diagnosed, I watched my friends live out normal lives, have experiences I was missing out on, get ready for college while I stayed home. I longed for things like a simple meal with my family at home, or just to be home. I was so bitter that I had to live a life different than everyone else around me. I was jealous of people who seemed like they could at least walk away from their problems. My problem was literally me. You can't escape your own body. I felt helpless and exhausted. While I had given parts of my struggle to God, I hadn't fully handed Him my circumstances. I wanted some control over my unpredictable life. Slowly, I began to lay down my dreams and desires at God's feet. Yes, my life had been interrupted, but didn't God already know that? And what if He wanted to use these interruptions for something that I couldn't see yet? Instead of praying for what I wanted, I prayed for God's will. My perspective began to shift. Instead of sitting around waiting for a miracle to get my life to where I thought it should be, I chose to live in the season of interruption. The moment I let go of my expectations, I saw my life become richer in things that truly mattered. I began to see how God had His hand on my life all along. I began to notice the nurses and doctors who see hardship daily but don't have God in their life. The other chronically ill teenagers who had the same fears and hurts but didn't realize there was a God they could turn to who understood their pain. While I still suffered, I had joy that was only explainable by God. Even though I still struggle with sickness and I'm not yet healed, God is faithful and steadfast. He has given me peace regardless of the season. Only our God can make something so destructive, so healing and beautiful in the end. 2 Corinthians 4:8-10 says, "We are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed." Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies. My name is Olivia Wright, and mine is a story of interruptions and learning to find God in the midst of it.